Hello and welcome back to second David 67 Celtic News YouTube video of the day. This video going to be a little review of Celtic women's match yesterday at Ibrox. They ended up with a 1-1 draw. I think over the whole game, probably a 1-1 draw was fair, although there is a good argument to say that Celtic probably deserved the win, as they had two really good chances to go and get their second goal, whilst Rangers really only had one other chance to win the game after they got back in at 1-1. When Celtic were 1-0 up, Tash Flint was completely open and free in the box, and for me really should have scored that goal. Created by good running and pace from Lefersky and Gallagher. Flint free at the back post, managed to unfortunately screw her shot right across the goal and missed the right side of the goal and went out of play. And with a couple of minutes of normal time to go, Murphy Agnew was free over the top with a very clever ball by Clayton Hayes. And the Rangers goalkeeper did narrow the angle very nicely, and Murphy Agnew couldn't quite hit the far corner left post area, and Fife, the Rangers goalkeeper, did make a very good stop with her leg, and the ball went clear. Quite a few sources have attributed that second chance to Lucy Ashworth-Clifford, who was playing down the left side later in the game. However, checking again this morning, it definitely is Murphy Agnew who has that chance to win the game with a couple of minutes to go. And I'm not quite sure where several of the Celtic sites have got the fact that it was Lucy Ashworth-Clifford. She never got into the box at all after she came on, and I think it may have been an error off the BBC texting sports site that a few journalists have repeated on their Celtic sites. However, getting back to the match, wee bit disappointing, of course, to see there were no Celtic fans there. There seems to have been an awful lot of unwanted controversy and fighting between the two clubs, which kind of goes against the spirit of the whole Scottish Women's Premier League, which has been designed to encourage kids and family and women to come and watch football, and for girls to have very positive role models. And I think in Celtic's team and in Rangers' team, there are an awful lot of really good role models of for young girls and for boys and older women, etc., of women playing sport, football, to the highest level and playing it within the spirit and laws of the game. And so it was very disappointing that all the controversy ended up with Celtic having their 1,000 or so tickets cancelled, and so a very deserted, quiet Ibrox hosted the match. There was said to be 4,000 fans. Certainly, it did not look like 4,000 fans from the coverage on BBC Alba. There was a scattering of supporters in the main stand, and I would be surprised if it was more than 1,000 or 2,000. However, the official figures have it as 4,000, and so we'll take that as being true. Now, before we crack on with the full video, just a wee reminder for all those new to the channel who are enjoying these sorts of videos, enjoying some coverage of Celtic's women's team and the Scottish Women's Premier League, please do click that subscribe button, like button as well, and please do use the comment section if you want to add any pleasant, polite points for debate, discussion, or opinions and thoughts regarding the Celtics women's team and the rest of this season. Do feel free to pop those into that comment section and I'll reply or deal with them in future videos. So, Celtic started again in their 3-4-3, which they've been using on quite a regular basis. They had Paolo Partido and Shane Men Glue out wide, playing sort of wing-back roles. They had Natalie Ross and Shane Mengu in central midfield. The usual back three of Craig Hayes and Kelly Clark. Sorry, her name escaped me there. And up front, Tash Flint, Kit Lefersky, and Amy Gallagher. Quite interesting comparison between how Elena Sadiku sets up her team, picks her players, and starts tactics in comparison to her male equivalent, Brendan Rodgers. Sadiku always very imaginative, changes and tweaks the way that she sets her players up, does use a rotation of players. I think she's probably found her best 11 players. I still have a wee bit of a concern for Celtic bossing central midfield with Shane Mengu and Natalie Ross. Natalie Ross seemed a wee bit off her game yesterday, wasn't really as combative as she usually is in midfield. Do wonder whether Colette Kavanagh may have been a better option. Shane Mengu doesn't really get involved in an awful lot of tackles and scraps in midfield, but she was often very creative, good passes out wide, did link the play quite nicely. Natalie Ross, for me, seemed to take the ball facing the wrong way too often, and so when the ball went to her, it tended to go backwards, and certainly Celtic's best spells were where she was facing the right direction and pushing forward. Quite interestingly also, as I said, Sadiku, in response to Rangers taking the initiative right from the start, an awful lot of pressing of Celtic's back three and midfield four, made it very difficult for Celtic to get the ball out of their own half. That continued for about 15 minutes. However, possibly due to a bit of loss of energy from the Rangers players, but I think much more likely from the fact that around that time, Tash Flint became more and more withdrawn, playing more into central midfield. She then became quite a pivot and a fulcrum for Celtic's attacks, dropping her into more of a midfield role to start distributing the ball, allowed Celtic to have an out ball from defence to midfield, also drew Rangers' defence that bit further forward, which then created space for Kit Lefersky and Amy Gallagher to go in behind, also allowed Paolo Partido in particular to beat Rangers' rather slow central defenders out wide, with balls going over the top of Rangers' two wing-backs. What did become very, very apparent is Rangers have rather slow central defenders who find it very difficult to turn to balls going over the top of them, and that Kit Lefersky and Amy Gallagher and Paolo Partido, and to a lesser extent Shane Menglou, all have the pace to burn over the top, and I think Celtic do have a blueprint for how to take on Rangers in the next couple of games in the league, by exploiting Rangers' slow central defenders, getting the wing-backs of Rangers drawn out of position, and then putting the ball over the top. And Lefersky, in particular, can give anybody a 10-yard start and beat them to the ball, as she did several times on Sunday. A couple of times, actually, when BBC Alba showed replays of offsides, it was very apparent that both Lefersky was well onside, and the third time, Murphy Agnew was well onside. But the fact that they were so quick off the mark chasing the pass down. The assistant referees on both sides made errors, which, had VAR been in place, would not have allowed those chances to be disallowed. Neither, obviously, with the way that there is no VAR currently in women's football at this level, meant that in both cases, all three cases rather, the assistant referee put their flag up and the play was stopped. Had it been a men's match with VAR, the players would have been allowed to carry on. Celtic would have had a player clear on goal in all three occasions. And we're not saying that Murphy Agnew and Kitleferski would necessarily have scored those goals or been able to get the ball into a fellow attacker, but it certainly would have given Celtic three very good chances in behind the Rangers defence. So after that first 15 minutes, after Elena Sadiku made her changes on the hoof during this first half, game was pretty much 50-50. Celtic had one or two half chances, Rangers had one or two half chances. Neither goalkeeper in the first half, to my memory, really had a proper save to make. Second half started brilliantly for Celtic. Clearly, Elena Sadiku had tweaked things again, much better than Rangers head coach Joe Potter did, in that Celtic came out, very quickly got the ball forward. Kitleferski beat the Rangers defence, and the ball then ended up with Tash Flint, who very calmly scored, and Celtic got off to a brilliant start to the second half. As I said, shortly after that, Tash Flint had a great chance to put the lead to 2-0, but unfortunately, as I said at the start of the video, missed it, hitting the ball across the goalkeeper, beating the goalkeeper, but unfortunately beating the right corner of the goal. A couple of substitutions from both sides at 70 minutes, with Lucy Ashford-Clifford coming on to replace Shane Main Glue. Lucy Ashford-Clifford doesn't really have quite the same pace that Shane Main Glue does, but was passing in quite nicely behind the defence. Rangers made a couple of substitutions as well, and it was one of their substitutes, a 17-year-old who took advantage of Celtic getting into a wee bit of a mix-up in the central defence, and the ball got out to the 17-year-old, bursting in off her left wing, and she very calmly hit the ball back across Kelsey Doherty's goal into the far corner, and it was back to 1-1. As I say, the next 20 minutes or so were quite tight. A lot of battling in midfield, a lot of battling in defence. Celtic probably had slightly better of that last 20 minutes or so. Rangers did have a very good chance to score. Both of their forward getting round Kelsey Doherty, however, she rather dithered, and Kelsey Doherty and Caitlin Hayes were able to get back and block the shot. And then, as I said, with a couple of minutes to go, nice pass by Caitlin Hayes over the top, exploiting Rangers' slowness in central defence. Murphy Agnew cut in off the left into the box, and her well-hit shot towards the left corner of the goal was well saved by Jenna Fife in the Rangers' goal, knocking the ball out to the side. So all in all, one-win result keeps Celtic 4 points behind Rangers at the top of the table. Glasgow City have moved up level with Celtic in second place. However, Celtic have a massive goal difference advantage over Glasgow City. At a corresponding time last season, Celtic were 6 points behind going into the 6-6 split. Celtic have one more game before that, which is against Motherwell at the weekend, a game that Celtic women would be very confident of winning. And so at a similar spell last season, Celtic were 6 points behind going into the split. We'll have two more games against Glasgow City, two more games against Rangers, and 2 games more against Hibs, Hearts and Partick Thistle. I can fully see the top 3 teams beating the 4, 5 and 6 teams home and away in that split, and so the season is, like last season, going to come down to who can win more points out of the fixtures against the other 2 in the top 3. I think Celtic women's side have all the tools to beat Rangers the next 2 games. I think they've got a very fit squad. They've now got a very innovative manager who is proactive and reactive. She made several changes to the setup as the game went through, and these worked on the whole well. There was a slight bit of disorganisation after the 70th minute substitutions. Don't think those were the wrong tactical substitutions. I think they were the right substitutions at the right time. Just Celtic were a wee bit disorganised in central defence after a quick break by Rangers from their own half. So, lots of positives. Celtic have got some very good players. I think they've found a very good way of getting Lefersky, Gallagher and Flint all on the pitch at the same time. I think they've got a very strong goalkeeper, a very strong back 3. I think we've got some very good, talented wide players, such as Barclay and Partido on the right, and Shane Menglu and Maria McInerney on the left. I think Lucy Ashworth-Clifford is a very intelligent left-sided midfielder. She hasn't quite got the pace for me to be able to get forward and get back in a full wing-back role. They've got some very good central midfielders. Jenny Smith came on late in the game and I thought she was very positive and did make a good number of positive moves and influences. I think Natalie Ross, on slightly better form, would have taken more control over midfield, and let's hope that's what she does next time we play Glasgow City and next time we play Rangers. And also we'll have the full support of the Excelsior Stadium the next time we play this Rangers team in the league, which I think will be very positive as well. Assuming that Celtic women choose to have the game at the Excelsior rather than swapping the game to Celtic Park, which would be an option, and hopefully we can have a very bumper crowd for that game, as was the case in a couple of games at the end of last season, which did help Celtic propel themselves to being within a wee minute or 2 of winning the league, and several people who watched the last games of the season where Celtic won, and in the corresponding fixture at the same time, Rangers and Glasgow City. Rangers ended up losing that game 1-0, with them having a goal disallowed in the last few seconds for a supposed foul on the Glasgow City goalkeeper. Had VAR been in place, the goal would have 99.9% have been awarded, and Celtic would have then actually have won the title over Glasgow City, who would have dropped to second, with Rangers staying in third. However, women's football doesn't have VAR at the moment, and I think it's very, very unlikely that it will be brought in to place for the 6-6 split that ends the women's season, starting in a couple of weeks after our international break. So that finishes off today's Celtic women's video. As I say, anyone new to these videos who likes there being coverage of the Celtic women's team on YouTube, please do click that subscribe button, like button for those who are already subscribers as well, and as I say, the comment section for pleasant, polite discussion, debate, thoughts and opinions on the Celtic women's side and on this video. So for today, we'll finish off there. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening, goodbye, and hail, hail!